G'day fellas, welcome to the very first patch for Age of Empires 4. I've just woken up, I've spotted this one, ready to go online. Let's get into it. Now, before we do though, I just want to let you guys know this is a short patch. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a short patch rundown, so we will talk more about it. Let's take a look at the very first patch for Age of Empires 4. Getting into it, we can first and foremost see Joan of Arc just staring there in the background, just a little bit scarily. Anyway, let's get into it. So, first and foremost, a little bit before, thank you for those who have joined us in playing and celebrating Age of Empires 4 so far. We've enjoyed seeing your empires flourish and can't wait to age up together as we continue updating the Age 4 experience. Starting today, we'll be introducing our first patch with a few key fixes based off your feedback. Before you update, please note, upon updating, you'll no longer be able to utilize replays from previous updates. That does not apply to saves though. Or it says saves will be impacted, though they've taken additional steps to ensure that they're not impacted by this update. I don't know what that means. Maybe they'll work, maybe they won't. Let's talk about the release notes. So, changes have been made to drastically reduce performance drops when panning the camera across the map. That's wonderful. As a caster, I'm always going to be doing that. You guys will probably be doing that as well in your playing, so great news there. Steam users are now able to link their Xbox Live accounts in-game. There was a little bit of a bug with doing this. Whenever you try and do it, it just would go around in circles, so good that this has now been fixed. Some users reported health bars disappearing during a gameplay regardless of their setting selections. This issue has been fixed, and in-game health bars should appear when you tell them to. Really, really good to see. There was a workaround for this, but great to see that there is no workaround. And the Mongol town center capital can no longer be placed directly next to their opponent's town center. From now on, the Mongol town center capital must be placed in an explored area and not within 20 tiles of an enemy's town center. Our balance team will continue to observe your feedback on this and other elements of gameplay. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I first heard this, when I first saw this, when I first read this, I was a little bit hesitant. I was like, well, you're kind of putting a band-aid on the problem and it doesn't really solve the issue of the underlying strength of the town center, but I will show you guys exactly what it looks like because I've gone into the game, I've tested it out, and to be honest, I'm actually pretty satisfied with this. It does seem pretty decent. So let's take a look exactly how far this is away. So we're just going into a standard game on Arabia here. I'm going to show you guys the distance that you actually can set up the town center from your enemy TC. Now keep in mind, it's the capital TC. So it's only the town center that they spawn in with. So if they go and make a town center down here, you're still going to be able to place your starting town center down there. So there's a little bit of a range. So you try and put your town center down, you're going to get an error message. There it is. Requirements must be built further than 20 tiles away from an enemy town center. So that's quite a few tiles. That's 2 tiles right there. Still here. You can see just how far away that is. We still aren't 20 tiles away. It's only when you start getting out to these distances. Look at that. Still 20 tiles. That is 20 tiles right there. So look, I think this is pretty decent. If I was going to like try and expand out to the middle here, like I can still expand to this tree line you can see on the minimap. It's not terrible, but at the same time, I mean, you've still got the potential to isolate starting resources, I think. Actually, you know what? You probably don't even have that ability. These aren't even the starting berries. These are the starting berries. The closest thing that you could potentially isolate is this gold mine. There's no way you're getting this town center back here. I think this issue has been solved now, and I don't think this impacts on gameplay a huge amount. But in saying that, I still think that there's a lot of issues that need to be fixed with the Mongols. One of those things, of course, is the absolute crazy speed that Mongolian buildings can move with the upgrade from the Uvu. Can I get some Uvus in chat? Thanks, guys. I'm just kidding. This is a video for YouTube. There is no chat, but I'd love to see in the comments some Uvus. I'd also like to know from you guys what other changes you'd like to see. Obviously, there's a huge amount of balance changes as well. So let's talk about the known issues that they've got. It's further down. So replays are not compatible with the new update. So any of those old replays, they're gone. So that means all the Genesis replays completely gone. You'll never be able to access them again. We'll never know who played in the round of 512 against Aussie Drongo because there's no record of that anymore. And then moving on to the next one, the requirements text for the Mongol Town Center capital does not call out the necessity for it to be placed in an explored area. We will be fixing this in a future update. So that is something to note. If you are trying to place that town center down, it'll come up with a message saying, cannot be placed 20 tiles away from the town center. And you're like, what are you talking about, town center? I'm more than 20 tiles away from the enemy town center, but it's actually just telling you, hey, you need line of sight of that area and it needs to be explored. So it doesn't have to be active line of sight, it just needs to have previously been explored. Known issue, infinite relic duplication for the Rus civilization has been identified for a fix in a future update. This is kind of big. I'm continually seeing posts on Reddit that have been coming through talking about this, and it seems like a very simple fix. It's kind of weird that they didn't go and fix this because it is game breaking, especially we're seeing it in a lot of team games. I really don't know why they didn't just update one line of code to potentially fix this. At least that's what I would assume it would need. But I guess you never know how spaghetti code works. You touch one thing, it unravels somewhere else. Known issue, Mongol Civ packed buildings continuously repaired has been identified for a fix in a future update. So for anybody who's seen this, essentially you can move around your Mongol buildings. So you would essentially start repairing a town center, and then you unpack it, and then you move it away, zoom it away, and those villages are going to stay still. They're going to keep repairing it, but the Mongol building is going to continue moving, and they just stand still repairing. And the Mongol TC is driving away, and they're still just tapping away at where the town center once used to lay. Also known issue, superior mobility providing too much increased movement speed has been identified for a fix in a future update. Once again, this is, I don't know whether this is super duper game breaking at the moment. It's just, it seems a little bit curious. We haven't seen anything crazy yet, but like, I can expect that there's probably going to be people who start hiding their buildings and just sort of running around with their landmarks. I'm curious what kind of changes you would like to see. Leave a comment down below. I'm just going to talk about some of the changes I would like to see at this point in time. So I would like to see, with regard, obviously you guys have seen, I've got an extensive list of feedback that I have provided to the Age of Empires 4 community at large, as well as directly to the developers. So just to give you guys some insight as to what that sort of thing is, or what I've requested. So first and foremost, players need to be able to select their colors. Second, hitboxes for sheep, deer, boars, trees, especially trees that are chopped down, need to be significantly improved. They're not very good at the moment. The hitbox on the town center needs to be reduced slightly, though it's pretty good at the moment. There needs to be a minimap feedback as well, so we don't have any feedback when it comes to the minimap, and like when you right click on the minimap, it doesn't tell you that actually goes through. So when people are watching someone else play, they don't know what they're doing with that minimap. So that is another thing. The Imperial Official, I mean, there's so many things wrong with that, but can we just start by not having it display as an idle when it's just chilling out? That would be wonderful. The Dynasty button, I mean, we've seen Tang Dynasty for the last 3-4 months just sitting up there like crazy. Can we just move that off the screen up to like the top corner, somewhere out of the way? I don't want it sitting in the middle, because one of the things that happens with Tang Dynasty, so if you go in and play Chinese, right, you're going to have Tang Dynasty sitting in the middle, but there's other messages that pop up throughout the game, things like your enemy has improved or has gone up in age, or your landmark is under attack, and then that moves that further down the screen. So you've got Tang Dynasty that sits right here, but then you get these other messages, like let's say you're housed or something like that. It will come up and it will sit right here in your screen, and you're like, bro, get off my screen, I'm trying to see, and it stays up for so long. And this Tang Dynasty needs to go up here somewhere. I don't know, make it transparent as well. I don't need to see this at all. I know what these things do. At least enable me to turn it off. Something like that. Other changes that I would love to see, you guys know I'm a big fan of spectating. I want to see like an actually decent spectator UI. I'd also love to see new features added in as well. So things like when you get a game and you're tapped out, that should play a sound. So that would be really nice to be able to see how many people are spectating your game. A countdown timer at the start of the game. So instead of just jumping straight into a game, which is what happens at the moment, a timer as to when the game is about to begin would be really nice, because, you know, you're sitting down, you're drinking your coffee, you're having a sip of water, you're talking to somebody next to you, and all of a sudden that game starts. Now, I'm in single player, okay? But when you're playing in multiplayer, you don't have this play button. You're just sitting here and bam, you get thrown into the game. There should be a 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, StarCraft has had this for many years. Age of Empires 4 needs to have it as well. So hopefully we see that added into the game soon. Also, when it comes to quick match, I mean, this isn't a permanent solution, but obviously when ranked comes through, you're going to be able to have, or there's going to be a completely different system. But at the moment, Alt F4ing is a big issue for Age of Empires 4 in quick match, and mainly because people don't want to play water maps. If I get Warring Islands, if I get Archipelago, and I get it for the 6th time in a row, I'm going to start Alt F4ing. And this is something that needs to be addressed, but at the same time, I don't expect the developers to be addressing that within the first couple months of the game, at least until Ranked is out. But I'm curious to know what you guys are looking for with regard to Age of Empires 4, what patches or what things you'd like to see. Obviously, we haven't even touched on balance in this video. Balance is a massive thing, and to be honest, I probably would need an entire video just to talk about balance changes. So if you would like to see what my dream patch for Age of Empires 4 at the moment would look like, let me know in the comments, and that's probably something that I can put together, especially with regard to balance. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one, and thank you so much for watching.